Zack Snyder ghost-directed the first Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins could never achieve this.
You know, something of an asshole myself.
I don't bust my heater, I'm a young mind reader. I can tell you a bitch, I ain't a tough guy either.
So I recently uploaded a video titled "Don't Be Like This," where I showed a tweet saying Snyder ghost-directed Wonder Woman and that Patty Jenkins could never achieve this. I even left a pinned comment showing my disapproval. I thought it was a pretty dumb tweet, as did many others, and the blowback was big enough that they deleted it. But since that upload, I've been seeing several comments agreeing with the tweet, and what I want to do is really see where they're coming from and explain why they feel this way. Also, usually I hide the username of people on Twitter, but this time I'm leaving it open because of a few reasons. The main one being that people in the comments already know who this person is, because they have a good-sized following on Twitter, and because we clearly share an audience, there's no point in hiding the username since most people know him or know of him. And in the previous video about the tweet, many people were just saying the username in the comment section anyway. But before we get into why people agree with the tweet, first let me explain why I thought it was distasteful and didn't care for it. And it's not because I see the tweet as being misogynistic like I've seen others claim. I don't think that's what they were going for. The issue is the wording and the intent behind it. They not only give full credit to Snyder for the movie, but they feel the need to completely discredit Patty Jenkins and belittle her talent, which was just a dick move. You see, the intent and the goal wasn't to discredit Patty Jenkins because she's a woman, instead to discredit her because she's not Zack Snyder. Yes, it's true that Snyder worked on the project with Jenkins. He's credited as producer and for coming up with the story, and there's behind the scene footage and images of him on set. But I personally am not a big fan of how this tweet tore down one director to build up another. There's no denying that Snyder had influence on the movie, we'll get to that, but to say he ghost directed it and then take a shot at Patty Jenkins was uncalled for. This account is clearly really into Snyder. Hell, I am too. But do you think Snyder would appreciate you bashing one of his friends just to praise him? Something to think about. But let me give you an example of how distasteful and disrespectful it sounds to me. Here, let's try this one on for size. Christopher Nolan ghost-directed Man of Steel. Zack Snyder could never achieve this. I mean, Nolan pitched the original idea for the movie. He handpicked Snyder to direct it. He has a producer and writer credit. There's pictures of him on set while they were filming, and it feels very much like a Nolan-esque movie. Now, that's not what I'm actually saying, but to me, when I first read this tweet, that's how distasteful and disrespectful I thought it was. On a side note, what's actually funny is I remember when Man of Steel first came out, I saw several people online crediting Nolan for the movie more than Snyder. Also, I would like to point out that I don't hate this account. Hell, I follow them. But there are several times where they let their love for Snyder go a bit overboard, and since they have a large following, people will see them as representing the whole fandom. And stuff like this to make people think that Snyder fans are crazy and only care about his movies and aren't actual fans of DC. And for those of you out there who think that I go overboard with praising Snyder, trust me, you haven't seen nothing. Now, I'm not saying don't like Snyder or don't praise his movies. It'll be dumb for me to do that because I have how many videos talking about and defending his movies? A lot. I'm just saying don't let your love for the guy or his movies go overboard to the point where people start seeing you as toxic, especially if you have a good amount of followers, because outsiders will see the whole fandom like that. And having takes like this definitely doesn't help anything. And those are the main issues I had with the tweet and why I found it so distasteful. Now let's get into why some people are actually agreeing with this statement. Like we already established, Snyder is credited as producer and for helping come up with the story, and he can be seen on set very often. But he also has more ties to the movie than just that. The stunt team and the VFX team for his movies also worked on Wonder Woman, so they were essentially Snyder's people since they worked with him on so many other projects. And not to mention, the movie does feel very Snyder-esque, even having a very similar color grading to BVS and Man of Steel. It has that same look and feel. Also, Snyder did come up with the No Man's Land scene, a scene that him and Patty Jenkins had to fight to keep. But I would like to note something. Although Snyder is credited for the story, his plan for the movie was very different until Patty Jenkins got involved. It wasn't going to be set during World War I, and the story would involve Diana spending years hunting down Ares. They had pictures and concept art made for what Snyder had in mind, but clearly that all changed, and was working with Jenkins that they decided to go in the direction they did, which was a more traditional fish out of water story. So clearly Snyder didn't come up with it all on his own and then tell Jenkins what they were going to do. It was a team effort. Now, the second part to this argument is that when making Wonder Woman 1984, Patty Jenkins had full creative control. Snyder's stunt team and VFX teams weren't involved, and neither was the writer from the first movie. Instead, Jeff Johns, Patty Jenkins, and Dave Callahan were the ones involved in the writing process. And Jenkins herself was in the driver's seat and had more control here than she did in the previous movie. And of course, the movie came out to be less than favorable amongst fans, and was seen as a big step down from the previous. Jenkins clearly has a different vision for what Wonder Woman should be, and leaned more into the Richard Donner Superman vibe, adding a layer of cheese to the movie for better or worse. So seeing a movie where she had full creative control has reinforced in many fans' heads that the only reason the first movie was good was because of Snyder's influence on the project. And considering Snyder was just given a producer credit and not involved in the story, as well as his teams being left off the project, I would agree that it's probably a big reason for the movie coming out the way it did. So in a way, people aren't entirely wrong when they say it feels like a Snyder movie, or that he clearly had influence over the project, because he was very much involved. And then when Snyder's influence was gone for the sequel, they took it in a very different direction, one that many consider bad. So I understand where people are coming from. I just think that this tweet itself was poorly worded, distasteful, and I wasn't a big fan of the intent. But anyway guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, go and drop a like on it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
I fucking love Naruto, yo. If I had to choose between watching an episode of Naruto and getting my dick sucked, I'd rather watch an episode of fucking Naruto.